Okay, and I'm back. This is the second part of the video, and I would like to talk in this part about how you can defeat the self-doubt and your own self-criticism. But may I remind you that self-criticism, self-analysis is pretty important. I think it's vital to writing a good story. Um, do you want to be critical of yourself, of course, but you don't want to be too critical to the point where it's driving you insane. And I've went down that road many times as a writer. I'm like, it's not good. You're a failure. You're a product of travesty. You should get out of the game and stay out of the game. One thing I have learned to overcome those feelings is if it's in your gut that you don't think it's good enough, then it's not good enough. So you gotta do it again. And B, one of the things I noticed about my writing while writing it and then looking it over it and kind of editing it and reviewing it and going through it in my head, I've realized that my stories kind of exist in their own world. They exist on their own platform, and the way it's all played out, the way it's all written, when I'm reading it, I'm like, this is surreal. This is kind of bad. This isn't good. But then I kind of think of like writers, like not writers, but artists such as David Lynch, where he kind of takes those awkward, surreal moments and he uses them to his advantage. So I learned to take those kind of shortcomings of my stories and map and fold them into a more dreamlike essence sort of take. And I know people don't like listening to people's dreams, and that's not what the writing that I particularly pen to life is about. It is very surreal, but it ties in very good and twistingly, convoluting in a really harmonious yet chaotic way that makes sense. Of course, once you're done reading it, some of it's going to confuse you. So again, I go back there and I'm like, okay, here's where you need to be maybe a little critical of yourself. You want the story to make sense, but at the same time, you want people to look back at it and read it again and see things they haven't noticed before. So this book I recently wrote, it took me 4 years, and when I moved out here to Florida, I went into the process of writing it again, like a broken record. But I kept at it until I finished it, and now I'm kind of sitting on the script right now. Not the script, but the manuscript. Feeling kind of bored with myself, kind of feeling bored with writing after doing it for 7-8 years. You feel bored with it, so I'm just like, hey, I'm going to start making videos or something, do something a little bit more entertaining. The last thing I want to do is sit in front of my computer screen and work on more bugaboos for people to get all scared and worked up about. So, but I went back and I did the story again, and one of the things I realized from one of my tutors is that rewrite. This is the painful process that I speak of, though. One of the most painful processes is after you wrote a 200, maybe 300 page book, you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to rewrite it. And by rewrite it, I don't mean you copy and paste a few bits and pieces there. You're literally going to open it up and you're going to take the first chapter, you're going to take the second chapter, the third chapter, the fourth chapter, the fifth chapter. You're going to delete it one by one, and you're going to rewrite all those words, all those paragraphs, all those spaces, all those margins, all over in a different context until you feel that you have established a well-rounded story. And I think this is where writers struggle, but the ones I think who struggle the most and suffer the most are the ones who get the right story told, such as Stephen King, struggling with the story, struggling to write it, struggling to get it done. You go through this painful process over and over, and it's very painful. Again, like Manalu said, you want to tear your eyes out, and you don't want to look at it ever again. So that's the harsh, cold reality of it. If you read Stephen King's book on writing, I think he makes a reference towards getting cold advice. He sent a short story or maybe something to Hitchcock, and Hitchcock mailed him back the manuscript Stephen King had wrote him, and he said, hey, next time, do not staple your story together. Use a paper clip. And this is just kind of looking at it from the business perspective. You gotta You gotta play people's games, and he says it's cold but good advice. So you've always gotta listen to that cold, good advice, which kind of ties into the whole comforting lies versus uncomfortable truths scenario. It's just like, it's better if you take the uncomfortable truth and you navigate your way through it. And that's what I've learned from writing. And a lot of other things in my life is, if you lie to yourself and just say, okay, this is the good, right way to do it, you're going to achieve little to nothing, and you're going to continue to take that pill and, download it into your head, and it's going to be painful. More painful than anything in the long run. If you continue to play that sort of game with yourself, you're like, okay, I'm just gonna take the pill, I'm going to swallow it, and I'm going to enjoy it, I suppose, while the reality of the situation continues to cripple me. Another thing to I just want to wrap this up real quick because the videos are getting long, and I believe brevity is a blessing from God. If you are going to write a story, understand it's going to take practice. It's like picking up an instrument and learning to play it. I don't think you necessarily need schooling to become a writer. What you need is dedication. You need a passion towards it, and you need to keep doing it, and you need to practice it, and you need to do it over and over again. And if you're too afraid to show your work to anybody, keep it to yourself. I've done that many times. I've thrown away tons of stories and manuscripts because, I just didn't want to show them to anyone. And but on the flip side, if you show it to someone, they're going to give you an analysis of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. So show your stories to someone if you feel that they kind of need that interpretive analysis, where you kind of need someone to tell you what you need to do and what you shouldn't do. But if it's flat out bad, you think this person is simply going to laugh at you and be like, this is fucking stupid, maybe you should put it to the side and be like, all right, I'm going to start something new, try that. But need I remind you, this could turn into a pretty depressing process which can last years. So, right now though, to be fair, I think we're in a pivotal point to be a writer or just an independent creator of any sort with the way Hollywood is. I'm sorry to say, Hollywood is kind of going to shambles, and I don't think they're going to last. I give them 2 years. That's just my take. 2 years. I give them 2 years. But, with them coming down, I think that opens new doors for independent creators, and that's a good thing. I believe that people should perhaps take advantage of the situation, and more writers, independent filmmakers, musicians, and everybody else can cooperate and make something beautiful other than this thing that's being shelled out to us day after day, year after year, same fucking movie, different fucking cast, reboot, blah, 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 blah. It's a perfect fucking opportunity for independent people to get in there and be like, well, you all seem a little fucking fed up with the politics at this point, so here's something to distract you. I think it's a good time to get in there and do that. So, yeah, that's the end of the video. We'll see you next time.